After just one bad night of sleep, your prefrontal cortex functions at the equivalent of being legally drunk. Not a little tired, not slightly off, legally drunk. Your reaction time, your judgment, your ability to regulate your emotions, measurably impaired to the same degree as someone who legally should not be driving. And here's the part that should genuinely concern you. Most people are walking around in exactly this state several days a week, and they have absolutely no idea, because the brain that's impaired is the same brain you'd use to notice the impairment. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you the 3 changes that fix this, and the most powerful one takes less than 10 minutes a day and is completely free. But to understand why it works, you first need to see what's actually happening inside your skull at 3 a.m. Because while you're lying there, frustrated, watching the hours tick by, or sleeping poorly without realizing it, your brain is being robbed of a process it cannot perform at any other time, a process most people have never heard of. Stay for the glymphatic system section. This is what your brain does while you sleep that cannot be made up for later, no matter how much you sleep in on the weekend. I'm going to show you exactly what one bad night does, why your brain treats sleep as non-negotiable, and the 3 changes that make the biggest measurable difference. Let's get into it. The legally drunk comparison isn't a metaphor. It comes from sleep research that measured cognitive performance after sleep restriction and compared it directly to blood alcohol levels. After being awake for 19 hours straight, which is a completely normal day for anyone who wakes at 6 a.m. and stays up past midnight, cognitive performance drops to the level of someone with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05%. Push it to 24 hours awake, and you're performing at 0.10%, legally drunk in every country on Earth. The sleep scientist Matthew Walker, whose research has done more than anyone's to bring this into public awareness, puts it bluntly. There is no aspect of human performance that sleep deprivation does not measurably degrade, and the numbers are specific. Routinely sleeping less than 7 hours is associated with measurable declines in concentration, memory formation, immune function, and emotional control. And a single night of only 4 to 5 hours can reduce the activity of certain immune cells by up to 70% the following day. But here's the obvious problem with all of this. If sleep deprivation is so damaging, why did evolution make us spend a third of our lives unconscious and vulnerable? There has to be something happening during sleep so valuable that it was worth the risk, and there is. In 2013, a neuroscientist named Mike Nettergaard discovered something that rewrote our understanding of why sleep exists. She found that the brain has its own dedicated waste removal system, and it only switches on when you sleep. It's called the glymphatic system. Think of it as a plumbing network that runs through your brain. During the day, while you're awake and thinking, it's barely active. But when you enter deep sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain cells physically shrink by up to 60%, opening up channels between them. Cerebrospinal fluid then floods through those channels and physically washes the waste products of a day's thinking out of your brain. The most important of these waste products is a protein called beta amyloid. And here's why that name matters. Beta amyloid is the exact protein that builds up into the plaques found in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. Your brain washes it out every night you sleep deeply. When you don't sleep, it accumulates. But here's what almost no one realizes. This is why you cannot catch up on sleep the way you think you can. The glymphatic system doesn't run a backlog. The waste it failed to clear on Tuesday night doesn't sit politely waiting to be cleared on Saturday. The damage compounds and a weekend lie-in cannot reverse a week of accumulation. A single study found that just one night of total sleep deprivation produced a measurable increase in beta amyloid in the brains of healthy adults. One night. Now extend that across years of chronically poor sleep, and you begin to understand why researchers now consider sleep one of the most significant, modifiable risk factors for cognitive decline. This is the process I promised you at the start, the one that cannot be made up for later, and it raises the obvious question. If this is happening invisibly, how does it actually show up in your daily life? What does a brain full of yesterday's waste actually feel like? It shows up in 3 specific areas, and once you know them, you'll start recognizing them in yourself. The first is decision-making. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational planning and impulse control, is the single most sleep-sensitive region you have. When it's underslept, you make measurably worse decisions, you take bigger risks, you struggle to weigh consequences, and you reach for short-term rewards over long-term goals. This is why everything feels harder to resist when you're tired. The brain system that says no is offline. The second area is emotional regulation. Sleep deprivation research using brain imaging shows that after poor sleep, the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm, becomes up to 60% more reactive. At the same time, the connection between the amygdala and the rational prefrontal cortex weakens. So you have a louder alarm and weaker brakes at the same time. That's why everything feels more irritating, more overwhelming, and more emotionally charged when you're tired. Minor frustrations feel like genuine threats, and you have less capacity to talk yourself down. The third area is physical recovery. During deep sleep, your body releases the majority of its growth hormone, repairs muscle tissue, consolidates physical skills you practiced that day, and restores your immune system. Cut the sleep, and you cut the repair. So we have a process that quietly protects your brain, and 3 systems that visibly fall apart without it. Which leads to the only question that actually matters. What do you do about it? And this is where the good news finally arrives. Here's what the research actually supports. And notice that none of these is sleep more. Telling a struggling sleeper to sleep more is useless. These 3 changes improve the quality and consistency of the sleep you do get. The first, and most powerful, the free one I promised you at the start, is a consistent wake time. Not bedtime, wake time. Waking at the same time every single day, including weekends, is the single strongest anchor for your circadian rhythm. Andrew Huberman's work on circadian biology makes the case clearly. Your entire sleep system is downstream of when your body thinks the day begins. Anchor the wake time, and bedtime and sleep quality gradually organize themselves around it. It takes under 10 minutes of effort. You simply set one alarm and honor it, and it costs nothing. The second change is temperature. Your body needs to drop its core temperature by about 1 degree Celsius to initiate and maintain deep sleep. A bedroom that's too warm is one of the most common and least recognized causes of poor sleep. The research consistently points to a range of about 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The third is morning light, getting bright light into your eyes within 30 minutes of waking. Ideally, natural sunlight, even on a cloudy day, sets a timer in your brain that determines when melatonin releases that evening. Morning light is what tells your brain when night will come. Consistent wake time, cool room, morning light. None of them require a supplement, a gadget, or a prescription. And together they target the exact systems we've been talking about. Protecting the glymphatic cleaning process, restoring your decision-making, and steadying your emotions. Sleep isn't the thing you do when you've run out of time for everything else. It's the process that makes everything else possible. The cleaning, the repair, the emotional reset your brain cannot perform any other way. One bad night is recoverable. A pattern of them is not something you can outrun with caffeine and willpower. Protect the wake time, cool the room, get the morning light, and give your brain back the one process it can't do without. If this changed how you think about your own sleep, subscribe. Every week, we go one layer deeper into the science of how you think, perform, and feel. And the free human performance cheat sheet in the description has a 1-page sleep protocol built from exactly this research. Next video: what's actually happening in the brain of someone with narcissistic traits and why confronting them almost always backfires. Publishing Friday. See you then.